Wow. How many of us can relate? You don't have to show your hands, but how many of us can relate to the reality of that tug of war in our lives? You see, the reality is that we go, man, I know I need to go for Easter Sunday. And we do that because that's how we were raised or we know something. But can I say something? It's part of the tug of war. And maybe God has been speaking to you and He uses Easter to draw you so He can capture your attention. Or He sent someone to give you a flyer, or He sent someone to send you a text. Because God is using the power of the resurrection because He can't stand to see you. Maybe in the decisions that you've made. He can't stand to see you without purpose anymore. And so He uses Easter so He can capture your attention. The reality is that we all have something that's pulling on us. Paul says this in Romans 7. He says, "For I joyfully concur with the law of God in my inner man. But I see a different law in the members of my body." Watch this. "Raging war against the law of my mind, making me a prisoner of the law of sin which is in my members." You know what we see in ministry too many times is people are in their own prison. They're in their prison of choice. Because God has set you free. To be in prison now is to be there willingly. And I don't know anybody, good or bad, that would say, I want to go to prison. I want to forfeit my life and live confined and live restricted. No, the ones in prison are all trying to get out of prison. Paul says, "But inside of me." This is the Apostle Paul, one of the greatest evangelists, wrote half of the New Testament. He's saying even within him, there is this war that is raging against what he knows to do and what he does. And he goes on and he says, he gives this, how many of us could probably relate to Paul and how he feels right now? And he says, "Oh, wretched man that I am." Have you ever come to that place where you know to do good, but the bad just seems to always win? And you finally get to that place and you're like, I'm undone. I am not, God, I can't defeat this thing. Paul recognizes that within his life. But he goes on. He doesn't stop with, "Oh, wretched man that I am." He asks a question that we're asking today. Who will set me free from this body of death? Verse 25. "Thanks be to God through Jesus Christ our Lord." Do you know what he says? He says, it doesn't matter how I feel. It doesn't matter what's pulling against me. The only thing that matters is that I can recognize that though I am weak, Jesus is strong. Though I fail, Jesus has not. Though I feel like I am dead, Jesus is alive. Do you see what Paul is saying? It doesn't matter what's pulling against you. It just matters, what do you do? Because, see, we've all got things that are pulling if we're honest. And some of those things that pull at us may be pressure. Maybe it's pressure of a job, pressure to produce, pressure to be somebody. Do you know that we live in a society that provides more pressure upon people now to look a certain way, to act a certain way, to selfie a certain way? You ever seen somebody do selfies and they're like, "Oh, hold on, I gotta set everything in place, you know?" And then you're like, "Damn," and then 5 minutes after, it don't look nothing like the post. Because it's a pressure. And it's pulling at us. Maybe it's a pressure. What are people going to say if I make a decision for Jesus? What are people going to say if I start going to church again? What are people going to say if I begin to get my life back on track? See, pressures pull at us. Relationships pull at us. Some good, some bad. I think if we were to look at a lot of the mistakes in our lives, we would say that they had some relationship pulling in them. You see, wasn't always a pastor. I tell people all the time, my name's Greg, and so I wasn't always PG. Right, Nicole? And I look back and I go, man, I just wanted to fit in. I just wanted to be a part of the crowd. It didn't matter what they were doing, but there were pressures pulling at me. People are wanting you to look like them so they don't feel so bad anymore. Come on, somebody. Oh, if I can just get so-and-so to do such and such, I'll look better than them and I'll feel better about myself. They don't care about you. But relationships can pull against us. Maybe it's finances. This is real life stuff. We're just real life here. I don't know how I'm going to do this. I don't know. Maybe I need a better job, and I'm going to do whatever I can to get a better job because all I need is more money. And the more money that I have, the happier I'll be. And the happier I'll be, the better I'll feel about myself. And along that way, you begin to give up things that really cost you, your family, your children, your marriage, God. Because it's a full circle. One day you're going to come back and you're going to go like millions have already done and said, the money didn't do anything for me. It pulls at us. What about disappointments? Anybody ever felt disappointed in this house? Disappointments and hurts and regrets, and they pull at us. I'm a disappointment. I made mistakes. People have hurt me, Pastor. Can I join up with you and say people have hurt me too? But God has never hurt me. He is unlike anyone that you have ever met. But those disappointments, see, the enemy works against you with those disappointments. Maybe it's disappointment in church. Can I say to you again, people are not God. People disappoint, God doesn't. And you're among people right here that we're fully in touch with the fact that we're messed up. Just hang out 5 minutes. Somebody's going to blurt something out and you're going to be like, what? On Easter? But 2 months ago, they would have been worse. Amen? You see, you might be messed up, it's just getting better together. God's bigger. Disappointments, hurts, regrets, they pull at us. Doubt in God, unbelief. I'm reminded of the disciples, and this is so telling, is that they looked at Jesus and they said, help us with our unbelief. They were with Jesus. And they were saying, help our unbelief. You're saying, I'm struggling with belief right now. I'm struggling with doubt in God. I'm struggling with the fear that what if I do give my life? What if I do go over to the light? What if I do finally do what I know I should be doing in my spirit? Guess what? You're in good company. Because The disciples doubted. Sometimes your pastor doubts. I would rather be real than right. But if I give my doubt to God, He can handle it. And I just say, Father, help my unbelief. Oh, and He does something through someone that just restores it. He reminds me of the cross. And that doubt fades and the fear goes away, and I realize it's all worth it. And this is a big one that pulls at us. Sin, strongholds, addictions. Addictions has many faces, so don't just say, oh man, I'm not shooting up on the corner. Maybe you're shooting up on the computer screen. Maybe you're shooting up with the video game. Or on the ballpark. You see, I know you wanted the Easter Bunny. God's pulling at you right now. He's got you. And He's saying those things are not going to fulfill you. That sin that you think and you have convinced yourself is okay, God will never be okay with. And He will never stop pulling at you to bring the light into your life to where you finally go, Father, forgive me, a sinner. And He says, oh, I've been waiting. I've been pulling at you. Your sins are forgiven. Go. Watch this. Go and sin no more. You've been liberated. You've been freed. Can I just share something with you real quick? I'm not going to be long. Even as a pastor, I have things that pull at me. There are things that have been placed within me by my own doing in my life before Jesus. And some of those things have gone away. Me sleeping on the porch of our house because I couldn't make it inside. God took those things away. Me destroying my marriage and the people around me because I would rather that than them. God has taken them away. But there are some things that I wrestle and pray over every day. God, help me, because there are times where it pulls just being real with you. You see, we all have things that pull at us. Watch this. Christianity, being a believer doesn't make you exempt from the pull. It just gives you access to the power. Come on, somebody. It doesn't exempt you from the pull of temptation. It just gives you the power not to give over to the temptation. You see, you're going, but Pastor's pulling me. It's pulling me. And I'm just asking, does the power of God live in you anymore? Or do you need to let some people come around you and help you? You see, one of the greatest strengths in my life is my personal time with God. But it is also the people of God around me. That when I'm struggling, I can pull up to them and they can pull up to me. And we can stand together. A 3-strand cord is not easily broken. But how will one warm himself? You see, God is pulling. The enemy might be pulling, But God is saying, my power is sufficient in your weakness. That whatever the enemy does, he has power to overcome it. Maybe it's the temptation to steer off away from the things of God. Maybe you've given over to that pulling, and you go, oh man, God's way over there. I can never get back. Can I say something to you today? God is closer than you think. I really believe He's close to you today. I believe He has pulled you here today because He wants you to know, I'm right here. If you would just open your eyes, if you would just listen. Because see, if we don't, guess what? Some of us may not meet each other till next Easter. I want to be straight with you and compassionate with you. And some of us look at Easter as the occasion. And I've heard all of the cliches. Oh, if I go to church, the roof's going to cave in. Listen, if it doesn't cave in on me, it'll cave in on you. You see, God doesn't want to see you once in a while. He wants to see you every day, all the time. You say, but Greg, no, there's no but with God. It just is. Why couldn't this time be different? Why couldn't this Easter be different? Could we do some business? Could we just go, God, you used it, you got me here, here I am. What are you saying to me so that I know how to respond? Do you know what He's saying to you? Stop letting this world pull you from Him. Receive the power. God is bigger than your problem. God is bigger than your opponent. God is bigger than the pulling. You just have to start believing that again. You have to stop trying to be perfect before you start pursuing. Jesus is perfect. The one who knew no sin became sin on our behalf. Woo! I give up perfection. I just have to pursue. I just have to pursue. God's just calling you to pursue. And the pulling will begin to let go. The pulling will begin to let go. So quickly, I want to invite you to two things. I want to offer an invitation to you. Real simple. We don't embarrass. We're not high pressure. Because if you don't make the decision, it's not the decision. If you do it, you say, Pastor, you want me to do, listen, I'm going to heaven. I'm disciplining myself every day. I'm working out my own faith. But I want you to begin to walk that journey with me. I want to invite you two things. I want to invite you to join Jesus. Not me, not Nicole, not our team. I want to invite you to join Jesus. I know that's different. This isn't Vacation Bible School. I'm not asking you to come down the aisle and feel some pressure. I'm just asking you in your heart to join Jesus. Him solely. The author and the perfecter of your faith, who for the joy that lay ahead of Him endured the cross for you. I didn't do that for you, but Jesus did. And just like He invited all of the disciples, He's still inviting us today. Come, follow me.